Okay, let's get into this. Have you ever felt like the roadmap you were given for your career just, well, vanished?
Hmm.
That old idea. Find one company, climb the ladder, retire happy. It feels like ancient history sometimes. Things seem so much less predictable now, more fluid.
Oh, absolutely. The whole world of work has fundamentally shifted. The sources we're digging into today, they talk about this post-digital age creating what they describe as a really complex ecosystem.
An ecosystem. I like that. It paints a picture, doesn't it? It's not just,
Okay.
you and the boss anymore.
Exactly.
It's individuals, employers, tech, society,
Hmm.
all mixed up, interacting, constantly changing the environment around us.
Right.
And our mission today for this deep dive is to take this really fascinating stack of notes and this study guide on career concepts that you've shared
Hmm.
and really unpack what makes a career sustainable in this, well, this brand new world.
That's the plan. We want to pull out the really crucial bits from this material. Understand the core concepts, figure out what a sustainable career actually looks like now, and pinpoint those adaptive skills you're going to need.
Not just to survive, right?
Yeah.
But
Well,
to actually thrive.
precisely, to thrive in this space that just keeps changing.
Okay, so let's set the scene first. This ecosystem idea,
Yeah.
it implies a massive shift. And the sources seem to really zero in on where the main responsibility for managing your career lands now. Is that right?
They make it crystal clear. Yes, organizations are still important. They offer opportunities, economic survival, growth, all that.
Sure.
But the fundamental shift, it's towards the individual. The sources really stress that you, the person, you're now expected to take much, much greater ownership and agency over your own career journey.
Ownership and agency.
Mhm.
Sounds empowering, maybe. A little intimidating, too.
It can be both, I think.
And this shift, it must change what career even means.
Mhm.
It's definitely not just that single ladder anymore.
Oh, completely outdated. The sources define a career today as, let me get the wording, the evolving sequence of a person's work experience over time.
Evolving sequence, huh?
Yeah, think of it more like a mosaic, not a straight lineup. It includes your development, your growth, a whole mix of diverse experiences, multiple roles.
And not just in one place.
Right, potentially not just one company. It could be across different organizations, different industries, even moving around within the bigger labor market space itself.
Okay, so if that's the new terrain and the new definition of a career, what does success look like now? The sources bring in this idea of a sustainable career. What's the core concept there?
Well, the key definition they give is that a sustainable career is one that's successfully integrated into the broader life domain in a meaningful manner.
Integrated in the broader life domain. Meaningful. That feels like a big shift.
It is. It's not just about climbing higher anymore. It's about how well your work fits into your entire life, your family, your community, your deep down personal values.
So, work-life harmony, actual meaning, not just the title or the salary. And what are the sort of key goals of going after this kind of sustainable career?
The sources lay it out pretty clearly. The aims are to remain healthy, productive, satisfied, and employable.
Healthy, productive, satisfied, employable. That covers a lot.
It does, and it's also about feeling secure to meet economic and quality of life needs. It's really a long-term perspective focused on your overall well-being and, crucially, your continued relevance in the market.
And to maintain that, you probably need to be able to, bob and weave a bit.
Hmm.
Change with the times. The sources mention flexibility and agility.
Absolutely essential. A sustainable career demands that flexibility, that agility to adapt, not just to what's happening out there, but also to your own changing needs and interests over time.
Makes sense.
Actually, the notes give a definition specifically for the new decade that really hammers this home. They say it's a sequence of individuals' diverse set of career experiences reflected through variance and continuity over time across several social spaces and is characterized by individual agency and a sense of meaningfulness.
Wow. Okay, let's break that down. Variance and continuity. So gaps, changes, different kinds of work.
Mm-hmm.
That's normal now.
Mm-hmm.
Several social spaces. So not just the 9-to-5 office.
Right.
And there they are again. Individual agency and meaningfulness. These themes just keep popping up.
They're central to the whole concept.
Okay, so let's dig into the 4 core elements of this new career idea that the sources outline. First up, how is the time frame changing?
The big headline here is, well, unpredictability. The sources basically say we should expect more frequent transitions and uncertainty.
Right.
That old job for life idea, pretty much gone. And this leads to what they call shorter-term career sequences.
Shorter bursts of work, maybe.
Sort of. And you might even find yourself juggling, like multiple jobs simultaneously, which, demands a whole new level of self-management flexibility from you.
Multiple jobs.
Yeah.
Definitely changes things. And that seems to connect right into the second element, the social space. The sources say careers are becoming boundaryless.
Yeah, boundaryless. This points to much higher psychological and physical mobility.
Meaning?
Meaning you're not necessarily tied to one company or even one city or country anymore. The whole field of opportunities is wider moving between organizations, across industries, within different parts of a company, maybe even globally. It's just a much more complex environment you have to navigate.
Which loops us straight back to the third element.
Yeah.
Agency and career management. We said the individual is the owner now, but the sources really dig into what that actually takes.
It means you absolutely need to develop strong self-management skills. That's key to handling all this uncertainty and this boundaryless stuff. The focus shifts dramatically. It's less about climbing one specific ladder and much more about building a transferable skill set for the future.
Skills you can take anywhere.
Exactly. And it also involves actively crafting self-employment and alternative forms of work. You're not just looking for jobs anymore. You might actually be creating your own work.
And that creation part leads perfectly into the rise of entrepreneurial careers, which the sources specifically mention.
Definitely. This path, self-employment, taking action, experimenting, innovating, it's a growing slice of this whole ecosystem. The sources do note, though, that it requires specific skills and, frankly, a huge amount of dedication.
Yeah.
It could mean less free time, potentially. Interestingly, they mention market conditions pushing this, but also specifically note an increase in female entrepreneurs taking this route, maybe seeking more control or trying to find a different kind of balance.
That's a really interesting specific detail from the sources about female entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got time frame, social space, agency. The fourth element is the meaning of a career. How's that transformed?
Well, the sources really contrast the traditional career, that neat, predictable upward climb focused on external stuff like titles and promotions.
The old way.
Right. They contrast that with the modern career, this evolving sequence we've been talking about. It's now seen primarily as an individualized self-project of meaning-making.
A self-project of meaning-making.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's less about the job title you collect and more about constructing your own career identity, who you are in relation to your work, shaped by all your experiences and, importantly, your interactions with others.
So building an identity that includes your work, not just defined by the work title. That also makes me think about how we measure success. The sources talk about objective versus subjective success.
They do. Objective extrinsic success. That's the stuff others can easily see. Your salary, getting promoted, awards, recognition.
The external validation.
Exactly. Then there's subjective intrinsic success. That's your internal feeling of fulfillment, accomplishment, satisfaction, feeling like your work matters, your self-worth.
The internal.
And the sources add a really important layer here. Cultural values. Things like collectivism or maybe an Afrocentric focus on quality of life and concepts like Ubuntu. These can heavily shape which kind of success feels more important to people.
That's a great point. Success isn't monolithic. It depends on your values and background.
Yeah.
And navigating this whole complex, meaning-focused path,
Yeah.
it's not always going to be smooth sailing, right?
Yeah.
The sources mention career hurdles.
Yes, they list several categories of obstacles you might run into. Things like your background, certain personality traits, maybe dips in motivation, skill gaps, limitations in your network, or even issues within a specific organization or job, lack of support, discrimination, things like that. These can definitely throw you off course.
Understanding those potential roadblocks seems crucial. And this whole idea of navigating change, focusing on your internal compass, it leads us nicely to another key concept. The protean career.
Ah, yes, the protean career. This is a really vital concept from the sources. It's fundamentally self-directed and value-driven.
Driven by you, not the company.
Precisely. It's shaped more by your values and experiences than by any single organization's predefined path. It allows you to pivot, to redirect yourself. It emphasizes constant learning.
Right.
And it's underpinned by what they call an employability-based psychological contract. Your security doesn't come from the job itself anymore. It comes from your ability to be employed, your continuous growth, your ongoing learning.
So security is basically in your own capacity to adapt and learn. That makes perfect sense in this changing ecosystem.
It really does.
And that brings us perfectly to the pillars of career adaptation. This isn't just about, like, hanging on for dear life, is it?
No, not at all. Career adaptation, as the sources describe it, is about moving way beyond just survival. It's about proactive adjustment.
Proactive. Okay.
It's about staying future fit, making sure you can sustain your employability, your job satisfaction, and your general well-being over the long haul. It involves both your mindset, your psychological readiness, and the actual things you do.
So it kicks off with just being willing to face the changes.
Essentially, yes. That's what they call adaptive readiness, having the willingness and the flexibility you need to deal with changing situations. The sources describe people who are career adaptive as self-starting.
Taking initiative.
Exactly. They actively get involved in proactive stuff, like planning ahead, constantly working on their skills, strategically building their network.
Got it. The sources then break down the key concepts within this idea of adaptation. Let's start with career motivation. What's that about?
Okay, career motivation. Think of it as your internal engine. It's influenced by your situation, naturally, but the sources identify 3 key domains within it.
Okay, what are they?
First, there's career identity, basically, how much you define who you are through your work and your roles.
How tied your identity is to your job.
Right. Second is career insight. This is about having a realistic perception of yourself, of the work world, compared to your actual career goals. Are you seeing things clearly?
Self-awareness, essentially.
And third is career resilience. This is your ability to bounce back when things get tough, your self-confidence in tackling challenges, and your willingness to take, calculated risks.
Identity, insight, resilience. Okay, that gives a good structure to motivation. Next up, they talk about career agility.
Career agility. This is very closely linked to that adaptive readiness we just mentioned. It's your willingness and your capacity to respond effectively when things change.
How quickly you can pivot.
Sort of, yeah. The sources break this down into 3 facets. First, technological adaptation. This is about having a positive view of new tech and actively updating your skills to actually leverage new job opportunities that tech creates.
Embracing the tech changes.
Second, agile learning. This is being genuinely eager to learn new skills, actively seeking out opportunities to grow.
Lifelong learning in action.
You got it. And third, career navigation. This means proactively scanning the horizon for opportunities, being flexible about your path, and having the confidence that you can actually implement changes when needed.
And you mentioned the notes suggest ways to assess this yourself.
Yeah, the sources imply you can kind of gauge your own agility based on the types of questions they explore around these facets.
Oh, that's useful. A practical takeaway, knowing you can check in on where you stand. Okay, and then there's the broader concept, career adaptability. How's that different?
Career adaptability is described as the psychosocial readiness to cope with all kinds of vocational stuff, specific tasks, changing work conditions, big transitions, even difficult workplace traumas.
So there's a broader coping capacity.
Exactly. And the sources say it grows across 4 key domains. They call them the 4 Cs.
The 4 Cs.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
First is career concern, basically planning for your future, thinking ahead. Second, career control, feeling like you're in the driver's seat, making your own decisions.
Agency again.
Yep. Third is career curiosity, actively exploring possibilities, learning about yourself and the different paths out there. And fourth, career confidence. That's your belief in yourself, your self-efficacy, knowing you can overcome obstacles and reach your goals.
Concern, control, curiosity, confidence. The 4 Cs of adaptability. Nice and memorable.
And like agility, the sources suggest this is something you can actively cultivate and self-assess.
Right, and linking directly to that last C, confidence, is career self-efficacy.
Career self-efficacy. This is fundamental. It's your core belief in your own ability, the belief that you can attempt hard things, that you can successfully carry out the actions needed, and that you can persist even when you hit roadblocks.
For your inner conviction.
Pretty much. And the sources point out a really clear link. Higher self-efficacy usually leads to more active engagement in making career decisions. Lower self-efficacy, that often leads to avoiding those decisions altogether. It's strongly connected to actual career success and performance.
Makes total sense. These adaptive skills, motivation, agility, adaptability, self-efficacy, they really sound like the essential toolkit for navigating this new world of work.
They absolutely are.
And sometimes, even with the best toolkit, you might need a guide. The sources also touch on the role of career development practitioners.
They do. They describe career development very broadly as lifelong guidance covering services like information, advice, actual guidance, counseling, planning assistance.
The whole spectrum of support.
Right.
And the sources, drawing specifically on a framework from South Africa, apparently, outline different levels of competence for these practitioners, these CDPs.
Correct. They lay out 3 levels. Level 1, entry-level CDP. These folks can basically collect, evaluate, and share information, make appropriate referrals, and run general information sessions.
Foundational stuff.
Then level 2, advanced level CDP. This builds on level 1, adding more specialized skills. They can apply career theories, use non-standardized assessments, help create detailed action plans, and provide specific employability help, like with CVs, interview skills, job searching strategies, networking.
Okay, so level 2 is more personalized planning and practical, hands-on help. What about level 3?
Level 3, specialist CDP. These practitioners meet the level 2 requirements, but then specialize even further. This is where you typically find services like in-depth career counseling, executive coaching, maybe conducting research, delivering training programs, or using formal psychometric testing.
So a deeper, more expert level of support.
Exactly.
Having those distinct levels makes sense. It offers a range of support depending on what you actually need at a given time. All these concepts, the changing landscape, the sustainable career idea, building adaptive skills, finding support, they all seem to point towards one key personal outcome: employability.
That's really the bottom line the sources keep emphasizing for the individual. Employability is defined as your capacity and willingness to become and remain attractive in the labor market.
Capacity and willingness, both matter.
Both. It's about having the right mix of knowledge, understanding, skills, experiences, and personal attributes that allow you to, as they put it, get or create and keep fulfilling work and really realize your potential throughout your working life.
And this loops right back to that earlier point we made. Security isn't about having a guaranteed job for life anymore.
I know.
It's rooted in your own employability. You are your own security system, in a way.
That is a core message running right through this material. And the sources introduce this really useful concept of employability capital, basically. The assets you build up and invest to navigate the market successfully.
Employability capital.
Huh.
Okay, interesting. What are the different kinds of this capital they talk about?
They break it down into 4 main domains. First, there's human capital. This is your education, your skills, your personal and professional experiences, and even your psychological capital, things like resilience, optimism, your ability to perform well under pressure.
Your knowledge and inner resources.
Right. Second, social capital. These are your networks, your contacts, who you know, the knowing whom assets.
Your connections.
Third, career capital. This is about being that proactive agent we talked about, knowing why you want something, knowing how to go about getting it, knowing whom can help you, and knowing what resources are out there.
The strategic know-how.
Exactly. And fourth, cultural capital. This is more about the alignment between your goals, your values, your social behaviors, and those of potential employers or the work environments you're considering.
How will you fit in culturally? Human, social, career, and cultural capital. Okay, that gives you a really comprehensive way to think about your overall value proposition in the market.
It does, and the sources are very clear. Building and maintaining this capital isn't a one-off thing. It requires ongoing commitment, constant effort from you, the individual, to keep developing those skills and accumulating that capital.
Continuous improvement.
They also briefly mention specific career competencies. Things like being reflective, communicative, and behavioral are really important for managing this capital effectively.
It's also crucial to remember, isn't it, that not everyone starts from the same place. The sources briefly mention challenges for economically marginalized groups.
Yes, that's a very important point they raise. They highlight that individuals from these groups can face significant limitations in their career choices, in the opportunities available, and often lack certain forms of capital that others might just take for granted.
Like what kind of capital?
Things like what they term aspiration capital, the ability to even imagine certain future possibilities. Or social navigation capital, lacking the networks or the know-how to navigate complex systems. Familia capital may be less robust family support structures. And even resistance capital, which refers to the knowledge and skills people might gain from navigating discriminatory systems, but which shouldn't be necessary in the first place.
Wow. That really adds a critical layer of context to this whole conversation about individual agency and building capital.
Absolutely. It's vital context.
So we've really covered a lot of ground here, from the shifting ecosystem and the new idea of a sustainable career, through all those essential adaptive skills, right up to this concept of building your employability capital. And you mentioned earlier the horse material actually includes activities for self-reflection, to assess yourself on these things.
That's right. Things like looking at your own career decision difficulties, assessing your agility, your adaptability. Those practical elements are really the bridge.
The bridge to applying it.
Exactly. This whole deep dive, unpacking all these definitions and domains from the sources, it's really designed to give you a tangible framework, something concrete to work with.
So you can use it yourself.
Yeah. It's about helping you identify your own strengths, maybe pinpoint areas where you want to focus your energy for growth, and giving you the language, the concepts you need to actively plan and build your own sustainable career path.
It definitely provides a structure, a way to think about your work life in a much more, I guess, empowered and strategic way. This has been incredibly helpful in pulling out the core messages from all this material.
It really is a mindset shift, isn't it? Navigating careers today, it means understanding that, yes, the responsibility is largely yours now. It means embracing this idea that a sustainable career is one that's truly integrated with the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
It means actively developing those crucial adaptive skills we talked about, your motivation, your agility, your adaptability, your self-efficacy, and continuously investing in building your unique mix of employability capital.
It's definitely a continuous journey of learning and evolving.
Yeah.
We've tried to pull out the most essential nuggets from these sources to give you, the listener, a bit of a head start on that journey.
Absolutely. So as you think about your own path after listening to this deep dive, maybe here's a question to mull over. In this constantly shifting landscape, what specific piece of your employability capital are you going to focus on building next?